Hi there, and this is a perfect segue after this little group chat we had. I was at Steve Beecham's table. He's our guest speaker today. I've known Steve Beecham for a little bit about me. I'm Tom Schroth. I'm on the ECBA board. I help businesses grow sales and revenue. And part of that is because I know Steve Beecham. I've known him for over 25 years. We kind of came up together in the real estate arena. He's in the mortgage industry. I was in the real estate residential sales industry. And I'm just really happy and glad to be here and standing here because this guy is a dear, dear, dear friend. He's a mentor to me. He's an inspiration to me. He has helped me through many things in life. He's been there through a lot of things in my life with me. And seeing his business grow and thrive has just been exciting for me. And one of the things we talked about at our table, it's kind of a give me because I've been to the University of Steve Beecham for 15 or 20 years now, and I've already heard it all. And the two things that I take away from my business, and I've taken away from Steve and what he's taught, has been one, give to get. You give to get. You help others, and they can't help but help you back. You know what? And if you give and they don't, so what? They weren't a good customer or client or potential in the first place. The second one was there is no place like home. There's no place like home. Where have you heard that before? Exactly. What did Dorothy find out? Everything she needed was right there. Her family, her friends, the people close to her, the people in her community. That's one of the things I've taken away from Steve that he teaches. Everything you need for your small, local oriented business is right there in front of you. You don't have to reach out into infinity to find it. It's right there. And it's because of going deep, not wide, one thing we talked about, and giving to these people. And another revelation, this seems kind of silly, letting the people around you know what you do. A lot of us don't do that. I'm going to let Steve talk more about all those subjects. Proud to introduce Steve Beecham, author of many books, professional speaker, and local business owner. Steve.
Wow, wow, wow. How you doing? Y'all are my people. You know, being a business guy and everything, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Tom. I really, really appreciate that. And Tom and I have been good buddies and just thoroughly have enjoyed our relationship. Thank you, Brian, for having me wherever you are, Brian. Thank you. Um, so I'm in the mortgage business, and as I was trying to grow my mortgage business, I'd been in about 4 or 5 other businesses. I've never worked for an IBM or a Coca-Cola or anybody like that. I've always kind of done my own thing. And when I got into mortgage business, that was when I really decided that I wanted to be somebody. And what I mean by that was I was sitting there one day and I looked back and I said to myself, I've always been a 75%er. In other words, I was good enough to be on the basketball team, but I wasn't the star. Had a couple of businesses. I had a great business, but it wasn't the best business in town. And I thought, why am I a 75%er? What do I got to do to be a 90%er or a 100%er? And so I engaged in all this learning stuff, which a lot of y'all are doing by being here today, and all the books we've all read and all of that. So a lot of us have been on that same course, but all of that kind of took me to this point to where when COVID, I mean, not COVID, I'm even thinking about COVID, but I call it the great crash in 2009 when everything just kind of collapsed. In the mortgage business, we lost 90% of the people that were in the mortgage business. So our business dropped 90%. And during that time, I decided to write a book about some of the things that I had done to grow my mortgage business. And so the first book I wrote was called Bass-Ackwards Business, because I learned that what everybody had told me originally was the way I was to do things. I learned that I wanted to do them differently. If I did them differently, it was sort of like the old Southern saying, it's bass-ackwards. And I started writing this book, and it launched me on this sort of speaking, and this is kind of my side hustle to my mortgage business. So I want to tell you some stories to make some points, and I'm hoping that some of these points will help you in your journey like they've helped me in my journey. So one day I was sitting at my office, sitting in my desk at my office, and I was thinking about, I'd read something about, you need to do things for your referral sources. And so I'm going through, my contact database, trying to think about which agents had sent me business, which people in the community had sent me business. And it dawned on me that my mom had never sent me a customer. Now, I know y'all are laughing because y'all's mom has never sent y'all a customer, right? And the more I thought about that, the madder I got, because I started thinking about my mom as the president of the Roswell Women's Club. 200 to 400 of the most mafioso women in all of Roswell, Georgia. And my parents in this community where we grew up, they know people, right? It's not like we moved here last month from somewhere else. I mean, we grew up in Roswell. We know people in Roswell. And I'm going, my mom has never sent me a customer. So I got in my car on a Tuesday afternoon. I drove over to my mom's house, and I pull up. My mom's out in her yard doing her tulips or whatever. And she says, what are you doing here? And I said, Mom, I came to tell you that your grandkids are not going to have Christmas this year. What? What's the problem? You need some money? What's the problem? I said, no, Mom, I need some customers. She said, well, why don't you have any customers? I said, Mom, how do you think I get my customers? She said, I don't know. You know people. I guess they call you. I said, Mom, you know everybody in Roswell, and you've never had anybody call me. And she looked at me like, I'm so sorry. And a light bulb went on in my head. And I thought, my mom, her world doesn't rotate around referring other people business. My dad's got a job. She stays home. She doesn't have to send anybody a customer. She's not in business. So I thought, I got to paint her a picture of what it is I'm looking for. And so I said, Mom, when you're at the women's club and you're sitting there and a lady walks in and she's got a little badge on and it says Harry Norman, Keller Williams, Century 21. I said, when you see that, Mom, I want to meet that lady. And she said, why? I said, because, Mom, I'm in the mortgage business. I said, what that means is she's going to put somebody in her car. She's going to drive them around. They're going to find a house. They're going to need a loan. She's going to tell them to call me. I'm going to do the loan. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to go down to Roswell Bicycles. I'm going to buy 3 bicycles, and I'm going to give them to Santa, and he's going to bring them down the chimney. And a light bulb went off in my mom's eyes. And that's when I realized that what happens is we are all crystal clear of what it is we want, but our people are not. Your friends, your mother, your sister, oh, he does X, Y, Z. But that doesn't mean they're crystal clear that when they're out in the public and they meet somebody and they go, you got to meet my brother Steve. So write that down. I want you to write that down if you got a pen. Paint a better picture of what it is you're looking for. Every conversation you're in, paint that person a picture. I'm not just an attorney. I'm not just a divorce attorney. I'm a divorce attorney when people are like throwing tomatoes and stuff at each other. That's the people I like. Whatever your thing is, people need to see that so clear that when they see that picture in their world, they think of you. Then the second thing you want to do is when you're talking with somebody and you're getting to know them and you're having a deeper conversation with them, make sure that you get them to paint you a picture of what they're looking for. And most people can't do that. They haven't really been through that exercise, and that's your job if you're really good at building relationships, is to coach that out. Okay, so you said so-and-so, but I'm trying to get clear now. What do you mean by that? Oh, so, okay, now, so if I see so-and-so, so-and-so, that's right for you? Yeah. If you do that, then you will always give somebody a great referral. And what you're looking for is I send you a referral and you go, wow. He remembered. He knew that that was a great referral for me. Then reciprocity kicks in, and now they want to give it back to you. Good stuff? Okay. So after I wrote that book, I'll have all these books for sale, by the way. If you want to buy some, gas is expensive to get back to Ross. I wrote this book, What's Your Buzz? So what I was realizing that there's a conversation that's going on about me that I did or did not know about. So I'll give you a story on that. So I went and did a speech with a bunch of financial advisors. One of the guys comes up to me afterwards and he says, hey man, can you coach me? And I said, I'll be happy to coach you. This guy lives in, I think it was Mississippi. He said, we'll set up a time. We set up a time. I drive out to Mississippi. I get there the night before. I go meet him at this restaurant. We sit down and we have dinner. And I said, what's the problem? And he starts to tell me about his problem. And his problem is that he's in the top 1% of 12,000 financial advisors in his company in a little town in Mississippi. No, but his customer service scores are in the bottom 10%. And they're going to start docking his pay. And he's furious. And we're sitting there at the restaurant, and as we're there, and he's telling me this stuff, and he's telling me about his business, I'm feeling dirty. Oh, this guy is not good. So the next morning I go to his office, and he's such a big financial advisor. He's got 2 or 3 people working for him. And so we go in and we talk for a minute, and he said, so what do you think I need to do about my customer service scores? And so I gave him some great ideas on that, on what he needed to do about his customer service scores. I said, but we got a bigger problem. And he said, what's that? I said, come with me in here to where your administrative help is. So we go into this little office, and there's 2 ladies, and they work there in the office kind of near each other. And we sit down. I sit down, and he sits down. And I said, ladies, when you're out and about in town in public and you tell people that you work for Brian, what do they say? Brian says, what do they say, y'all? They wouldn't say anything. And I said, Brian, they're not going to tell you. I said, there's only one person that's going to tell you the truth. That's your wife. Put her on the phone. He calls his wife. He's on the speakerphone. It's a true story. On the speakerphone. And she answers. She goes, hey, I'm here with Beach. He wants to ask you a question. I said, Linda, I said, when you're out and about, or when people know that you're married to Brian, or if Brian's name comes up, I said, what do people say about Brian? She said, oh, honey, you know everybody in town knows you're a jerk. I'm a jerk. I said, dude, that's the nicest word I can think of for what you are. But we tell them you're a good jerk. And this guy had no idea that the whole town knew he was a complete horse's rear end. He had no idea. So I said, there's a story. Tell me the story, Brian. So the story is that Brian was an all-star, bad to the bone athlete, went to major college, got hurt, came back home. The local financial guy brought him into his business. About a year and a half later, that guy dies. Brian inherits the whole business. And because he's all big time at the school, he's getting all the booster stuff, and his business is growing. And he's got the baddest car, the baddest boat, the baddest four-wheeler, the baddest lake house. He's got the baddest everything. He's making money, and he's just flaunting it all over town, and everybody knows he's a jerk. So he said, well, what do I do about that? And I said, well, that's what we call bad buzz, Brian. We got to figure out what your good buzz is. I said, do you have a customer coming in? He said, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are coming in. I said, can I sit in? He said, if they'll allow you. This little old man and little old lady walk in there. And he says, do y'all mind if Steve sits in? He's coaching with them. No, we don't mind. And we sit down, and He's got his screen up like this, and he's going, your investments are here and here, and these people got millions of dollars, and their investments just climbing, and it's a happy time. And he said, so Steve wanted to ask y'all some questions, and I said, Mrs. Smith, I said, what do I said, no, I said, Brian, tell Mr. and Mrs. Smith what we discovered about you today. So he says, well, Steve, we discovered today, Steve helped me discover that everybody, Miss Smith, in town thinks I'm a jerk. She leaned back and she goes, you just found out today? And I said, but Miss Smith, why do you use Brian? She said, well, everybody in town knows the boy make you money. I said, there's your good buzz. And so I want you to understand that people are talking about you in the public. They're saying good things about you or they're saying bad things about you. If they're saying bad things about you, you have the ability to spin that buzz, to change that buzz. But you've got to find out what they're saying. In other words, you might work for Coca-Cola and the buzz is that Coke is good, but you're a jerk. Or it might be that you're a great guy, but they hate Coca-Cola's billing system. I'm just using that as an example. They might you got a corporate buzz and you have a personal buzz, right? We all run into that salesperson where we love or don't like the salesperson, but we love or don't like the company they work for. That may be going on with you and your employees. So you need to know what the buzz is, because the best way to find that out is from your spouse or a really close person that's a partner or friend. Or the other thing that I want you to be on the lookout for is when every time you're introduced, what does the other person say about you? Do they say, oh, this is Steve, our sons played soccer together, so that's how we know each other. So they didn't say anything about me being a great mortgage guy or speaker, so that buzz is not good coming from that person. I need to educate them on what kind of buzz I have so that they'll say, oh, this is Steve, we met and our sons play, but I hear he's a really good speaker, or I hear he's got a great mortgage company. Yeah, are y'all with me on this? You see what I'm trying to tell you? So be thinking about what you're hearing other people say about you when you're introduced. That's called your buzz. So then I wrote another book, which is my most recent book, called The Tapes We Play in Our Head. Because I came to realize that how we think is everything. And so we've got to figure out, how do we change the conversation that we're having in our heads? We're having more negative than positive. Hanging out with highly successful people, one of the big aha moments for me is that they're having a conversation that's entirely different from me, and it's way more positive than mine is. So let me give you an example. So I had a clothing store. This developer by the name of David Chatham. David Chatham, they owned Northside Realty back in the day. They built polo fields, Bradshaw Farms, some other places. Anyway, Brookfield West. So they're big time. This is in the 80s. And David calls me and says, hey, Steve, do you have a minute? I want to come pick you up. And he pulls up in his brand new Cadillac. And I get in his Cadillac and we ride. We're in Roswell, and we ride north out of Roswell, and we get to the side this place in the road, and he pulls over on the side of the road and he says, you see that right there, Steve? I said, yeah, I see it. It's woods. You see that right there? He said, I'm going to build a shopping center there, and I'm going to have this restaurant there and this brand new grocery store there. I'm going to have a Starbucks over there, blah, 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 blah. They're going to put a red light right here. It's going to be one of the largest intersections in all of North Atlanta, and I want you to put your clothing store right there. And today I look back and I think, man, what kind of dude believes that he can see that, right? He's drawn it in his mind. He already knows it. He already believes that he can get the money to pay for it. He already believes that people like me are going to sign leases before it's even built. What kind of person is that? What kind of internal conversation is he having that I'm not? And Adam Grant, if you've ever read any of his stuff, calls that humble narcissism. And that's what we've got to adopt. Highly successful people believe like a narcissist that they can do it, that they have the stuff to make it happen. But being humble keeps you from being like Trump and just 100% narcissist. Because the reality is anybody that sits somewhere one day and thinks that they should be the president of the United States of the whole free world, no matter if it's Obama or if it's Trump or whoever, you got to be a little narcissistic, don't you think? And some of our presidents have been a little more humble about it than others. You want to be a humble narcissist about making things happen. So here's quickly, I want to do something with you. I want you to hold your hand up, your left hand up like this. And I want you to do like Texas Longhorns, okay? And then I want you to do this, and that's the devil talking to you. He's over here. Leave it up. This is the devil over here, and he's talking to you. You're ugly, you're broke, whatever, okay? All right, hold the other hand up. I want you to do a circle on the top, and then this is the halo and the wings of an angel. And this is like your grandmama. You're the cutest little baby I've ever had. You're so smart. I love you. Those are the conversations we're having, right? So when this dude kicks in, kick this dude in. All right, so there's 3 ways you can beat negative conversation. Number 1 is give it a name. You're having this negative thought. Just name it. Call it somebody you hate or call it the devil. Number 2, bring in a third party. Like dial a friend. If I'm really struggling with something that's bothering me, I bring in Oprah. I bring in Tony Robbins. And me and Tony and this negative thought have sort of a conversation together. And Tony's going, Beach, you can do better than that. Beach, you've always made this happen. And I have this great thing. And then the third one is like, Flip Wilson, right? The devil made me do it. And so what I do is it's like I have an argument with this negative thought the same way maybe my wife has an argument with me for not doing something right. You just go after it. So hopefully some of that will help y'all. Is it time for me to end? I guess it is. The Chief's coming up. So anyway, so I hope that helped you a little bit. I've got a few other things if you got some questions. I'm writing a new book called 52 Marketing Ideas, some things that you can do to increase your business. So
that was great. Let's give a round of applause. So I had to take some notes here, paint a better picture of what you're looking for. You can tell how much someone knows about what they're thinking about, how much their expertise is by how simply they can explain it. And that's really what it is. How simply can you explain what you do?
Which is what you said earlier.
Yeah, and then what's your buzz? You're going to have a buzz, and this is why we survey you afterwards, after these meetings. What are you guys thinking about us? What are you saying about us? Prosperity outlook versus scarcity outlook. These people that are looking at the woods, they're looking at it very differently, right, than you are, and it's interesting. And then the humble narcissist. I'll never forget the day I conquered humility. It's a joke. It's a joke. Evil Brian, he shows up. Evil Brian made me say that. But do we have any questions for Steve? Any questions at all? Any comments from the presentation? All right.
I want to give y'all one thing to do. So I've done this the last couple of years, and it's been it's been awesome. I can't spend money with you if I don't know you exist. So part of my job is to exist within my village, okay? I'm not talking about the whole world, just my village. And so what I decided to do was make a list of the top 100 people in my village that I did not know. And to make it a point to go meet those people in the next 12 months. Now, who are those people? Those are people that may be like your mayor and city council. It may be your police chief. It may be your kid's teacher. Like my wife knew the teachers, but I didn't. So I decided I needed to know the teacher, right? It might be that you go to a certain restaurant all the time and you don't know the person that owns the restaurant, or you don't know the person that owns your dry cleaners, or blah, blah, blah. And when you start getting into those things, what happens for me is I'm in Rotary in Alpharetta. I end up inviting them to Rotary, just like you had met some people and you're like, come see what we're doing. So build you a list of the top 100 people that you would like to meet in the next 12 months and just see how many of those people you can knock out. I think for me, that's a great prospecting tool.
That's a great idea. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Steve.
Thank
Let's thank
you.
him again. And it's funny, that's what Henry mentioned in our session earlier about investing in the community, identifying who those 100 people are.
Steve,
So-
there's about 100 people in the room, so if you could just put a little sheet out, we'll all go sign up for your list, and we can start that process.
I'd love to personally meet everybody here, so yeah.
So with that, it's time for our next breakout session. Let's just make this one 5 minutes because we talked too much earlier on. What do you take away from Steve's presentation? Let's go 5 minutes.